Hey everybody, Dr. Phil here. So this is going to be a video where I'm going to talk about and discuss the idea of personal selling. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's first start talking about the importance of personal selling. So why is personal selling important? So you can think of personal selling as kind of a two-way flow of communication. And of course it involves a sales force, maybe a little more traditional, the traditional view of the salesperson controlling the sales process. Um, but it also speaks to what we call CLV in marketing, customer lifetime value, which is increasingly important. So think of it like as a forward-looking metric, trying to figure out, okay, how much is this customer going to be worth to us? Not just now, we're probably going to use the data that we've gathered, from past sales from this customer, and we're going to look at what do we think, sort of extrapolate that forward. What do we think if we sort of sub 10 that out, right? Like, what do we think this customer will be worth in the future? So there's more of a shift towards relationship selling, and certainly for big, expensive things. I'm sure think like Boeing and Airbus that sell planes. I'm sure they have reps, maybe even a team of reps that liaise with each of those airlines. You think about the just a huge amount of cost and revenue involved in those transactions. So B2B versus B2C. So again, B2B is business to business, B2C is business to consumer. B2B is typically going to be larger financially. So again, think about like if you think about my example, like Boeing or Airbus, Airbus selling planes to say British Airways, selling the A380, that big double-decker Airbus plane that they use a lot on those transatlantic and trans-Pacific routes. Um, they're very expensive. You don't just negotiate that overnight. I'm sure it takes time, probably a whole team of people. But they build these relationships over time. So obviously they take longer to complete. Again, multiple decision makers and very experienced negotiators. Now, personal selling in the digital age, we're looking more at like non-sales type selling. Probably sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, right? Non-sales selling, but again, think about that in the wider context of this sort of relationship that you're trying to build. So it isn't all about selling. It's also about getting to know the clients, getting to know them as people, them as individuals, right? That never hurts. We sort of it sort of culminates in this long-term, as it says, consultative relationships with customers. That's really what these companies are trying to do, right? They're trying to build and promote these long-term arrangements with clients. So what about career opportunities in sales? Well, there's always plenty of entry-level sales positions. They can be financially rewarding. I mean, that if you're not very good at sales, they won't be financially rewarding. But yeah, if you're good at sales, you're probably going to do pretty well. A lot of it's going to be probably commission. Base plus commission is a very popular model. Like base is like you get this much salary, and then maybe 50,000 a year base just to make a number up, pull a number out of the air, and then you get X amount for every unit that you sell, as one example of a sales structure. Um, Great salespeople are made, not born. That's generally true. Some of it's going to speak to personality characteristics, which can develop over time. Some people, when they're younger, are very introverted, and then by the time they get older, they're very extroverted. Obviously, most of us would submit that extroversion is certainly a prominent characteristic of salespeople. And then, individual characteristics. Maybe somebody needs to be persuasive, for example, right? If you're not very persuasive, then, it may be hard for you to sell the company's products. So the personal selling process consists of really 7 stages. And we'll talk about each of these stages a little more in detail right after this. So the first one is prospecting and qualifying. We have what we call the pre-approach, then we have the approach, then we have the presentation, and then we have the handling of any objections. And then 6 speaks to gaining commitments. And then 7 speaks to the follow-up. So as far as prospecting and qualifying goes, so this is kind of where we're, like where, depending on what it is we're selling, like where would those people likely be? Where would we find those people? Where would we be looking for those people? Right. The pre-approach speaks to a focus on environmental forces at work in the customer's life or in the organization's industry. Perhaps there's things going on that maybe whatever we're selling could maybe help with, perhaps could abate. And then the approach is actually building the rapport. So that's probably like the first face-to-face meeting, calling them on the phone, sending them an email, and trying to build rapport, right? Because at the end of the day, people are people are human, and people appreciate the personal touch. People probably don't want to feel like they're just being sold something. They maybe appreciate that somebody is trying to get to know them as individuals as well. The presentation, so typically we could go with a what's called a FAB, feature advantage benefit approach. So we can, we can perhaps demonstrate or at least list out the important features. We can talk about the advantages and also the disadvantages of competitors. We can also talk about the benefits of various features. Effective presentations, again, you're not trying to dazzle them with with some super complex, some sort of technical presentation. You really want to try to keep it simple, keep it succinct, keep it to the point, and sometimes involving emotion is a good idea. That can often help. But you don't want them to be bored. You don't want them to become disinterested because those presentations will likely count against you. Now, you're probably going to get the inevitable objections, right? So handling objections. So you can acknowledge, you don't really want to disagree with what they say. Acknowledging and sort of agreeing that yes, yeah, our prices are higher, but our product is better. That's a fair sort of retort to, the objection that the price is high. Um, Postponing. You could say something like, "We'll discuss the delivery option in a few minutes, but first let me ask about your needs in this area." So you're sort of looking for like a semi-commitment there. You're sort of trying to set it up to where, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Maybe it's a little presumptive. Some people may not like that, but it's not. It may work on some of your prospective clients. And then also a denial. So that is not accurate. Here is what the situation actually is. So it's sort of saying, that's actually not the case. This is what the case is. And then gaining commitment. So you're asking the prospect to move forward with the sales process. You're going to want a summary, sort of achieve a summary close, just sort of get like a verbal acknowledgement. You may want an alternative close. You may want to have them sign something, maybe like a commitment to purchase or something like that. An assumptive close can be a little risky. You're sort of assuming that they want to close, and that's a little more high pressure. You're more sort of, pushing them into it, if you will. The follow-up is to create customer satisfaction and long-term relationships, right? So it's not like, okay, I sold you this now, and you're never going to see me again. Sort of the idea here is that there will be an ongoing relationship, and a relationship that's beneficial and profitable for both parties, both sides of that coin, if you will, both sides of that transaction. All right, and we also have customer-oriented selling. This is more of a what they call a solution-centric approach. So it's really looking at problems that customers are having and thinking about, okay, well, how could it be that what we're selling would help them solve that problem? Because frankly, if it is, it's probably going to be a fairly easy sell, depending on the quality of the product and of course the price. You always want to maintain a positive self-concept, right? So you've got to have necessary mental and emotional discipline to stay focused and constructive. You got to have some thick skin because in sales, you will get rejected. You'll probably get rejected by more people than actually want to buy. Again, depending on what you're selling, quality and price. So you've got to have some grit, right? You've got to have some kind of get up and go, some motivation to, you kind of get beat down, get back up and keep going at it. Um, and of course, market related knowledge is going to gain you a trust of customers. So if they see that you actually know the products that you're selling and you know the market, I think one thing most of us hate is when you ask a salesperson a technical question and they have absolutely no idea, and then that maybe piques your curiosity. You ask them another one, and there's still no idea. Then you start to wonder, okay, what do you actually know about this product? Because that doesn't feel good, right? That just feels like a straight sell. It's nice to have somebody that knows the product and knows the markets. So a lot of companies now are using what they call CRM, customer relationship management systems. Um, so the beauty of these systems is they allow sales to manage customer relationships, as it says, contacts, deals, events, tasks. So you can kind of like, whereas before maybe these things were all being done by different systems, now we've kind of got them centralized into a single system. Um, back in the day, there was, the sort of, you've probably heard the old adage that, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. This is one of those systems that, along with ERP systems, that have kind of helped combat and kind of helped resolve that issue. Um, yeah, we may also be able to use augment AI, artificial intelligence, into CRM. That's kind of probably more in the early stages, but AI may be useful in the context of CRM as far as helping us figure out what to sell, when to contact customers, so on and so forth. They mentioned lead scoring, basically scoring leads to think, okay, like I've only got a finite amount of time in the day. Like what leads should I be pursuing versus what ones should I be spending less time on? And then, of course, virtual selling. So virtual selling can be thought of as a blend of synchronous and asynchronous channels. There's an emphasis on video-based communication. So things, video conferencing tools like Zoom and Teams, for example, probably more Zoom. And then virtual selling, as you could use it as a prospecting tool. You, of course, can conduct sales meetings virtually. Most of these will now be done virtually because, especially where it's, geographically diffuse, it's all spread out. This is going to be a more practical way than trying to bring everybody together in person. That's going to be a lot more expensive too. And then finally, in this part, like social selling, what is social selling? So you're looking to bolster seller credibility, facilitate insightful conversations with prospects, and establish long-term customer relationships. So the four pillars of social selling on LinkedIn. You can actually look at you can see those on LinkedIn. And by the way, if you don't use LinkedIn, that really is a great place to. If you don't have an account or a profile, I would encourage you to set one up because a lot of jobs and I mean sales in a sense, but if you imagine like you're quote unquote selling yourself to the job market, then I would encourage all of you to have an active and up-to-date LinkedIn profile. But I'd say by the time you graduate, but you're really going to want it before that. I mean, now is it's never too late to start now, right? It's gonna help you learn things like internships while you're still in college, and also jobs when you get out of college because so and so knows so and so who knows so and so may help you get your foot in the door, maybe get you an interview. Some people it's just like they just need to get an interview, and if they can get that, they can usually sell themselves. So social selling tactics for sales professionals. So you're looking to craft a professional brand on social platforms. So, it's important to not don't send mixed messages, right? Make sure your brand is obviously it's you, it's unique, but it shouldn't be, you shouldn't appear to be one person to somebody and then somebody else to somebody different, right? You should be who you are, authentically and legitimately. You can use social tools to focus attention on the right prospects because you don't want to waste your time on dud prospects. You want to focus on, to the extent you can know these things ahead of time, you want to focus on the right prospects. And you want to engage prospects and customers with relevant insights. So things like content curation could be one, sales enablement could be another. Um, so just think of it like this. You can use social selling, you can use social media, you can use the power of social media to really help you build a genuine relationship with your clients. And when I say clients, I don't just mean current clients, but I also mean future clients. Okay, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you all very soon. Take good care.